Well, I'd like to welcome everybody who is with us this evening. We are making a start tonight in offering parish-wide webinars. We want to share with you an exciting initiative that the Vestry's been carrying out. I'd like to open us with prayer. The Lord be with you, and also with you. Let us pray. O God, you manifest in your servants the signs of your presence. Send forth upon us the spirit of love, that in companionship with one another, your abounding grace may increase among us. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Well, let me give you a quick catch up on how we got to be here tonight. Sometime in July, Wayne Dementi, a member of the Vestry, and I were sitting in the narthex thinking about the ministry of stewardship that we needed to carry out this fall and wondering what that might look like and having musings about that. And then one thing led to another, and then the Vestry got energized by this idea of engaging with the parish, beginning with all of our different committees and ministry groups. And last week, we completed, 15 Zoom meeting calls with many of the committees of our parish. And here we are, and we'd like to share with you sort of the first fruits of those conversations that provide for us, I think, a way to go forward with hope and confidence in what lies ahead. So our program for this evening, let me just run that down for you quickly. After this brief introduction, our wonderful senior warden this year, Seth Schaefer, is going to offer a sort of state of the parish report. We never stopped being the parish. We've never stopped being the church in these past 6 or 7 months. And Seth's going to talk to you a little bit about that. And then I'm going to provide a report on what we heard in all of those different Zoom meetings with committees of the parish. Then we'll have a little time for comments or questions. And then I'd like to offer a sort of first draft of a vision of how we, the beloved community of Jesus here at St. Mary's, move forward in this time. And then we'll conclude with a word from Wayne Dementi, sort of looping back to where this all began in the summertime when we were looking ahead at what was to come. Before Seth's report, Ashley, did you want to just give some information about chatting in questions or comments?
Yes, as David said, we are going to have a questions and comments session of this program. So at the bottom, if you're on a computer, laptop, you should be able to hover over and there will be a bar to appear where you can either do a chat or a Q&A. Either one is fine. We'll see either one. Or if you're on an iPad, I think the option or phone is actually at the top of your screen if you look it over. So please comment or question in real time, but we won't get to them or respond until we get to that portion.
Thank you, Ashley. Seth, do you want to
can you hear
share
me?
with us where we have been?
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting year as senior warden. Not one that I think I'd wish on anyone, but I'm here to share some good news, actually. Thanks for the introduction, David, and good evening, everyone. This is certainly a much different experience than the Zoom calls where I could see the faces of the folks listening. You get people's reactions, if you're being heard or not. But I have the great privilege as senior warden to give the state of the parish summary, if you will, on behalf of the Vestry, and I'll do that now. Where I started thinking about this was thinking about a church as a community But looking back over the last 6 months, I thought that St. Mary's is really, it's more than a community, it's a family. Members of a family take care of one another, they look out for one another, they pick one another up, they check in on one another, and they stay connected. And that's exactly what we've been doing as a parish family over these last extremely unusual and unique several months. I won't sugarcoat it. Circumstances are not ideal right now. We've been forced out of our church for the last 6 months. We all miss each other. We wish we could be worshiping and gathering like we used to, but that time will come. What I want to focus on tonight is not what we've been missing, but where we've been thriving. Through the efforts of all of you listening tonight and the rest of our congregation, together with the clergy and the staff and the vestry, we've done an extraordinary job remaining and I'd go so far as to say growing and improving as a community of faith. And that's why, as far as as you put it, David, a state of the parish is concerned, I think the punchline of my report, I'll get it out there early, is that this parish is strong, it's healthy, and it's vibrant, despite everything we've been facing. And the evidence of that is abundant. So much so that in preparing for tonight, I didn't know where to begin. And I thought about those Zoom calls that you mentioned and the 15 calls with every one of the 17 or 19 ministries of St. Mary's. And I thought, yeah, ministries, in many ways, our ministries represent exactly who we are. You know, we are what we do, so to speak. So what I'd like to do is kind of bullet point my state of the parish report by walking through some of the ministry highlights as an illustration of how we've been able to continue to be a strong, thriving, loving church family together in these last 6 months. And I'll start with worship. As everybody knows and can appreciate, that's been an evolving aspect of our parish family life. And since March, it's been improving every week and moving us in many ways to a new normal. We've been having amazing online services. They've really been well received and fantastic. And to some people, they're necessary options to worshiping. And as I get to see the behind the scenes work that goes into some of this, and it's evident to me that the staff and the clergy have been working tirelessly to produce first live, then pre-recorded Sunday services, Wednesday noonday prayer services, and other online offerings. And this continued effort to keep us connected has been vital to our community, our faith community, and the life of our church. And really, it's provided us small gifts that I'm not sure we otherwise would have taken advantage of. I love on Sunday mornings seeing the faces of young children and families participating through readings or a pre-recorded hallelujah on my screen. It's really been a nice new addition to our services. And of course, when weather has permitted, the outdoor services allowed us to get together in some form or fashion in person, which has also been a godsend. Next, the children's and youth ministries have also continued to shine brightly and have adapted to reach out and to continue to connect to all the children of St. Mary's and their families. Honestly, don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that there may not have been a week over the last 6 months that we have not received a postcard, an activity packet, a prayer card, or something similar from Amelia or Emily. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. And I know the other young families of St. Mary's are grateful too. And speaking of mailings, man, the pastoral care folks, I think, David, when we spoke earlier this week, or last week maybe it was, you referred to Herculean efforts, and that was a perfect phrase for that slow, steady work of sending handwritten letters, making phone calls, kind of doing it the old-fashioned way. That is really a nice personal touch and goes a very, very long way to keeping us connected. I've even heard of the Pastoral Care Committee delivering cookies, and all of that keeps our larger St. Mary's family together and connected, and they've been doing that since March. I think it's also important to mention stewardship, and not just as a discrete committee, but as a parish-wide ministry of hope and faith and love. This has been, as we all know, a period of great uncertainty, and St. Mary's leadership has witnessed our congregation stepping up to the plate, really showing its true colors and answering the call. And I see that generosity as coming from a love of and belief in St. Mary's, as well as a hope for and a true faith in St. Mary's future. That generosity didn't only allow St. Mary's to weather the storm in the earlier periods of COVID, but more recently it allowed us to start preparing for a very bright future, including pulling the long planned roof replacement off the shelf and putting it into motion, and allowing us to refinish almost 30-year-old floors in New St. Mary's that I'm looking forward to welcoming everyone back, hopefully in the not too distant future. So again, silver linings, opportunities, the opportunity of an empty church that this period has allowed us, and the vestry, the buildings committee, the finance committees have all stepped up to take advantage of these opportunities and continue to help us move forward. Lastly, I'd like to point out the important work done not just for and within our St. Mary's family, but reaching out to folks outside of our St. Mary's family and through our outreach efforts. At the beginning of COVID, we housed and fed roughly 30 homeless women through our partnership with Caritas. In fact, when other churches backed out of hosting, we signed up for a second week. That didn't end up being necessary, but we answered the call, and that's something that I know that I personally and the vestry and the clergy were all extremely proud of. Soon after that, we hosted the underground kitchen and helped provide an estimated 1,000 quarts of soup to charities like Goochland Cares. And we helped assemble hundreds of meals that went to organizations like the Crossover Healthcare Ministry. This summer, we sent over $26,000 in grants to our outreach partners that include Caritas and Crossover, but also Gateway Homes, Goochland Family YMCA, Goochland Cares, Peter Paul Development Center, and the St. Andrew's School. And we also contributed to Education Equals Hope, our partner in Ecuador, in order to provide food for roughly 160 families. And then back here at home, again, most recently, we collected over 50 pencil bags full of school supplies for the folks at Peter Paul. I wanted to end on that note as far as our ministries, because it showed how we are reaching not only within, but also without our community and making a difference. And a special shout out to the outreach committee who has spearheaded many of these efforts. That committee is led by Charmaine Trice, and it consists of Jeff Alendi, Harry Baldwin, Jim Evans, Sean O'Hara, Linda Rose, Carrie Schaefer, and Dick Thomas, and is supported by Ashley Cameron. So thank you, anyone who can hear this. The vestry, David, has really stepped up. As you know from our Zoom calls, we didn't even take the summer months off as we have in the past. We've been digging in deep and we've been leaning in. At the beginning of all this, it was paramount that we stay connected, and we helped brainstorm and think through and put into motion ways to do that. And more recently, we've rolled up our sleeves and opened up our hearts to think hard and critically about racial injustice and what we're called to do in the face of that. And so I want to thank the Vestry for all of its great hard work over the last 6 months in particular. And of course, the clergy and staff, despite challenges, small and large, COVID on one side of the scale and malfunctioning microphones on computers on the other end of the scale, the staff and the clergy have really stayed resilient. They've demonstrated incredible creativity and adapted and found new opportunities to grow and, as I said at the beginning, really thrive during this time. So I think everyone agreed that we have so much to be thankful for. And more than ever, I think we owe a huge debt of gratitude to our loving clergy, David and Eleanor, and our wonderful staff, Ashley, Amelia, Dee Dee, Emily, Elizabeth, Carl, Ryan, and Paul. We should also remember to be thankful for one another, our St. Mary's family. I'm so thankful for each one of you listening tonight. You make this all possible, and we have every reason for a lot of hope as we go forward.
Thank you, Seth. I just want to say how grateful I am and how proud I am to serve with the vestry of this parish. For those of you who are with us, parishioners watching in, we are in such good hands, and I'm so grateful for your leadership, Seth, and the spirit of this vestry, who embraced this opportunity to engage with the congregation through these Zoom calls with a kind of enthusiasm that was just wonderful. It was a ton of work. An awful lot needed to happen in a short time. The vestry was interested in trying to overcome some of the isolation through these calls, and I'm so grateful for their energy and initiative. So we met with, I don't know how many groups. I mean, I don't at this point, 15 or so, I guess. And we asked for each group to consider 2 questions. What are we learning in this time? And what do you want to do about it? And the prayer that sort of focused our conversation was Bob Hetherington's prayer: Lord, may the words that we hear be your words. And so I want to hear back for you some of what we heard. This is the beginning of a conversation. It is not a conclusion. It's an exciting beginning, and I want to share that with you. I wish I could fully convey to you the spirit of all of these meetings. Maybe it's hard to believe that you can meet with people on a computer screen, but I experienced it as inspiring, as healing, as energizing, and I believe others did as well. There's something about when we share our hearts with one another in talking and listening that it creates space for God to work in our lives in a special way. I took notes. I don't know if you can see all these from all these different meetings, and just as a means to sort of discern and to hear all of what was said, I've grouped it into 4 categories or headings for us to consider as that which is most important to us at this time. The first grouping is just the simple gift of community. You don't know what you have till it's gone. And these first 2, the gift of community and the gift of our own humanity for each other. And the gift we are to one another. and calling us forth to be who God means us to be. So the first two categories, the gift of community, the gift of our own humanity for one another, but also for this world. The third category is a fresh realization that we live in a fallen world. And the final category I named is this sense that God is trying to do a new thing with us. Is God trying to reset us, reprioritize us? One participant said, this time gives us an opportunity to redefine who we are and how we respond. Is that what's going on right now, or is that the invitation? I want to go through each of these four categories briefly and just give you some representative insights or quotes from all of these different groups that met. The first, the gift of community. One person said, no one can be left out. Everyone belongs. Another said that the Zoom lectionary Bible study group was literally a lifesaver for them. Several people said the church is not a building, it's us. This is a we life, not an I life. Someone said, I need the church to tell me about God. I'm not very good at it by myself. This gift of community is the Spirit calling us together to do God's work. The second, the simple gift of our humanity, one for another. One of the 4 or 5 people in different groups talked about her saying, thank you, going away drive-through, and how moved they were by that. One person said, I cried like a baby. What was that all about? I think we are connected to each other more deeply than we're used to understanding, and we know that sometimes. When people actually talk to one another and listen to each other, things that seemed impossible can become possible. I was just so moved by so many comments people made and the transparency and vulnerability that they offered all through these Zoom conversations, which create these wonderful possibilities for God to be at work in our lives. The third thing was a fresh realization that we live in a fallen world. This is important for information for us as the church. We're called to do work in this world to overcome darkness and sin and despair and brokenness. And there is something about this time where we're seeing in particular that we live in a hurting world, including us with it, and we have work to do. I have to say that I have a bit of a bias towards this category because even at 61, I still believe that we can change the world and are called to. So here are some of the comments that surfaced this realization that things are not the way God means for them to be, and we have work to do. One person wondered aloud, what is fear doing to all of us? One person talked about their anger and frustration at the mess of politics, wondering when will it end? When will we stop demonizing each other? Another person says, there is so much want in the world. Another person said, we are a mess. Another person says, all of this political divisiveness is hiding the goodness that is happening. Another person said, people are just too weird these days. Another person said, the divides and disparity is rendering the social fabric. Another person said, racial reconciliation is the neighborly thing to do. Another person said, I just can't take my eyes off of all the bad news. It's like watching a car wreck. Part of what the Church of Jesus Christ is called to do is listen to what the world is saying about itself, where it is hurting, and then live as Jesus would live. Do what Jesus would do for the sake of this world. And the final category, where is it? There it is. Are we being called in this time to reset, to reprioritize? Is God asking us and inviting us to become different? One of the important quotes I heard is the person said, in times of big change, what is it that God is trying to get us to see? Another person said, I'm changing my priorities. Another person said, I can complain about things that don't matter. All of this has taken my head off and put it back on again. Another person said, we will get through this, but we won't be the same. So this fourth category, I think, if these words that we are hearing, Lord, are your words, are an invitation to think about what is important and what isn't. What are our priorities as the people of St. Mary's, and what is not a priority? There's a sort of beautiful invitation, I think, to hear God addressing us about who we feel called to be in the light of Jesus Christ. So it was an amazing experience where I believe the Lord did answer our prayer, where the words that we heard were his words, inviting us in this time to think about going forward. We do have some time for questions, I believe, or comments. If you are out there and would like to chat in, you can, or use the Q&A, you can do that anytime. And again, this is beginning a conversation in our parish. Ashley, has anybody chatted in a question or a comment in particular that you'd like to highlight for us? I'm going to sneak a cup of coffee.
I don't see any questions or comments right now, David, so.
People are listening intently, and I'm grateful for that. Well, I'm going to then move ahead to the next part of this, which is going forward with hope. At a couple of these meetings, I heard someone say, well, David's going to tell us his vision for St. Mary's as a result of these Zoom calls. No, I'm not. But what I will do is say that a vision for us, a framework for us going forward, emerged clearly as I heard it from all of these Zoom calls, and gives us the framework for a challenging and life-giving and hopeful and energizing and above all faithful vision on how to be God's people. And that framework is the gift of community, the gift of the Spirit that calls us together, the gift of our own humanity, where when we speak and when we listen to one another, which I tell you the world needs a little bit more of, so why shouldn't we go ahead and do it? When we do that, God has room to work, and impossible things seem possible. There is this new clarity about living in a fallen world, and our call to be a part of healing what needs healing, of mending what needs mending, of reconciling what needs reconciling, of setting free what's held captive. There is There is work to do in this world for us at St. Mary's to proclaim the good news. And finally, this opportunity to see if God is making all things new again with us. Again, this quote from a parishioner: "This time gives us an opportunity to define who we are and how we respond. It is an invitation to reset our priorities about what's important and what's not, and retrue ourselves to the vision of God." This most unusual time that we are in, and have been in and will be in for a while, is not going to last forever. In fact, it is time for us to be thinking about what comes next. The fall that lies before us has all of these opportunities to make our way through the wilderness with celebration. Babies are being baptized right out there in the parking lot. People are getting married right outside over there. We're gathering for worship online and in person. People are gathering in small groups safely to share their lives together. We have a period through All Saints where we can meet together. Then there will be Thanksgiving and Advent and Christmas, and we will find ourselves coming into a new time. So we have every reason to begin thinking about who God is calling us to be, and about this time that's ahead of us. Here's what I think. I think it's possible that we have been given this time where we are continuing to sort of evolve, that's still fluid, that's still uncertain. We have been given this time to reimagine our lives together and with God. And while we are thinking about and rethinking what matters most to us and what doesn't, we have this time that has a kind of openness to the Spirit that we don't normally have. It doesn't come along every day that we should be this open. It doesn't. Can you think of any other chance to rethink what it means to be the church? Can you imagine any other opportunity that we have before us quite like this? So, as we look ahead with hope and faith, how shall we cooperate with God's grace at this time? How can we use what we are learning together for God's good purposes and even be remade? I think that this is the beginning of a conversation. And probably 60 to 80 people, I would guess, were a part of these Zoom calls. And now we have more today and more coming. I look forward to the opportunity to continue to listen to each other, confident that God is giving us a future full of hope. Well, where this all began was with Wayne and I in the narthex of New St. Mary's going, man, what are we going to do for stewardship? We can't talk to people. We can't make presentations. We can't be together. What are we going to do? What began there with a little fear and trembling, wondering about how in this extraordinary time we can make an extraordinary effort for this coming season of stewardship, has brought us to this place where I think we have every reason to look forward with faith, with hope, and with confidence. So I'm going to turn it over to the person who started all this, or it sure looked like it to me, Wayne.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. This is our first one, and we didn't rehearse this, so I'm kind of hearing it too for the first time from David and Seth. And gosh, you guys have really captured the spirit of this so well, and makes me personally so appreciative of what's gone down here. I was going to say, I bet most people on this call would rather this meeting be in Fellowship Hall. And if we were, I would, at this point in time, be inviting a round of applause so that David and Seth and Ashley and the Vestry and the staff members who participated in this could hear a loud round of applause for what's going down. But Ashley, I guess we can't do that. But I'm going to try anyway. So if you're at home, just shout out, make a noise, do clapping or whatever. But 15, 16, 17 Zooms in the past 10 days or so. Just an amazing thing. I want you to know that David did every single one of them. And he did it with the same exuberance you're seeing on this call right now. He loved every second of it. And we are absolutely blessed with his commitment to us and to what's going on here. And again, also to every Vestry member and every staff member who help make these things happen. So to David, Ashley, Seth, Vestry members and staff members who are on this call, thank you, thank you. If you're at home, please do a round of applause for these folks. Really well done. Yeah, the conversation started with Bob's words, Lord, may the words we hear be your words. And we were thinking that we would be listening during the engagement Zooms and then look towards stewardship as a period of time when, Lord, may the work we do be your work. But aha, Lord, as we Zoomed, it became really clear that so much of the work that's going on, and Seth and David have certainly explained that really, really well, has been your work. So the aha for me in this is that the work's been going on all along. We've been so isolated, we probably haven't noticed as much as we could have. And that's what came out of these calls. We were able to hear things that we didn't know about, and see things that we weren't aware of, and learn points of view from all of our parishioners. Bishop Curry was on Today's Show this morning. I don't know if y'all saw him, but he made a point that the only way to get through this is love for one another. And when we were embracing what we were doing here, we were thinking about our priorities here at St. Mary's and how that kind of lines up. And I think what Bishop Curry is saying and what we're saying here at St. Mary's are pretty much one and the same. The two priorities right now are take care of each other and take care of our neighbors. And Seth, really, you detailed that so well as to how that's happening. I mean, the pastoral care team has had a banner year, if you can call it that. It's so extremely busy. The outreach group has been doing an amazing level of work. And so we're hearing these things, and it's so good. We're getting ideas. We're hearing ideas. And the ideas are refreshing too. And we're hearing testimonies. I thought one that was fun, we had the blessing of the backpacks a few days ago, and one family came through and offered a testimony on the Zoom. I think that was Frank and Charmaine Trice. They said, our kids were in the car, windows rolled down, it was a cool day, yelling, hanging out the window, screaming to their friends and having a really fine moment. He said, it was only 5 minutes. But that 5 minutes just meant so much, and just prompting the insight that a little bit of optimism goes a long way. So I think we've heard all that, and we're looking forward to where we can go from here. We will soon be entering our stewardship season, and that brings to our attention another means of, Lord, may the work we do be your work. The Lord is extending to us, in my opinion, a timely invitation to offer a prayer that's particularly relevant in these times. For me, it goes like this: Our Father, who art in heaven, whose presence is with us always, and whose spirit dwells within. May your kingdom come in our lives and on earth as it is in heaven. In this time together, we have grown stronger. We have experienced our resilience. We are proud of that. And there's a feeling among us that optimism, fueled by faith and hope, will take us to an exciting future together. And David, thank you for the opportunity to offer a couple of comments.
Thank you, Wayne.
David?
Yes, ma'am.
We've had a couple of questions and comments come in during this time. If we would like to take a few minutes.
I think we've got a couple of minutes, yeah.
All right, so the one question came, there's a lot of great information being shared. Will there be a written communication from these webinars?
Absolutely.
I would also like to share that we are
Will be
recording. We are recording each of these webinars, and so we'll choose one of them to post onto probably our YouTube channel, so people who weren't able to attend live will be able to watch and hear this as well. That is our plan. Another question came, so is the goal of this to inform us, or what are the action items / next steps?
Well, and that's the question. I think it goes to the vestry. I think, this sense of visioning who God may be calling us to be. We'll go to the vestry next. I would like to have some opportunities for, a larger congregational conversation about this. I guess that's the thinking of these webinars. So those of you who are out there, you may want to harass or cajole or, bully or whatever fellow parishioners and say, you need to be a part of this webinar if you haven't registered. There will be next steps, but I'll tell you, in some ways, we're sort of following the Spirit with this. We saw as far as these webinars and what comes next, it seems to me the vestry will be a part of that. But how best to engage, these questions about who we feel called to be, we'll need to figure out.
Yeah, I agree, David. I think we talked about this a little bit. I used the word culmination to describe these webinars, but really they're not. They're not the culmination of anything. They are just the next step, the next in a conversation, right?
Exactly.
I think the energy in the webinars was so refreshing. There were so many ideas coming out of there. I mean, just one that strikes me as, in my recollection, was the Altar Guild wanting to pitch in with the pastoral care group and combine their missions to work together in reaching out to our parishioners. Just one example.
Great.
Yeah, with our doors closed, a lot of windows of opportunity are opening.
There were two questions that kind of go together, so I'll ask them together. Quick question on inside church. Any thoughts? And how does this look as we progress into the end of the year as weather gets more uncertain?
Right. I think, what I would say is that I'm fortunate to have a physician who's been good enough to, to field my questions and my wonderings. Honestly, and last week I asked him, I said, what I see is that, we don't have a clear trend down in terms of new cases and deaths, generally speaking, that would sort of allow us to be optimistic that we're getting to a significantly different place that would provide the rationale for us to have in-person indoor worship. I said, is that true? And he said, yeah, that's pretty much what I see in our health district as well as adjacent ones. I don't know. I honestly don't know. We've received conditional approval for in-person indoor worship, but it's contingent on those public health factors, new daily cases, deaths trending down, in a significant way, and that just doesn't seem to be happening for us. We will be, continuing to meet outdoors. We got 2 services, so potentially on a Sunday we could have 150 people. And we're going to go through All Saints with that. That's the plan, November 1st. If the weather holds, we'll go longer. I don't care. We're having to make this up as we go along, y'all. And I actually find some joy and some energy in that. The truth is, I don't know when those health public health factors will trend down in a significant way. And I certainly, what I hear is the first generation of vaccines will come out, through next year. What that does, I don't know. So that's a lot of talk, which all of it means I don't know, which is frustrating. But Ashley said today, we just keep redefining what it means to be the church. We'll just keep doing that. I don't care. We baptized a baby out here this past Sunday, and it was beautiful. It was, it was in the spirit. So we'll just keep being the church, whatever that looks like, and hope for the day when we can gather again in our church buildings.
And on that note, there was a comment that said, I agree with David's comment to reimagine what our call to action and new reflection is.
Right. And so I guess that's in the middle of not knowing, we have work to do together. I mean, I think we're learning in a new way. The church really is people. I think that's a truism everybody said forever. Oh, the church isn't a building, it's people. Yeah. It's the building. You know what I mean? But I think this time has gone, you know what? It is us. It is us. So, and the impact of that is freeing to me in lots of ways. So, maybe things are being taken away so that there'll be more space for us to receive a new vision for ourselves.
Well, thank you for everyone who commented and asked a question. And if anything comes up in the next few days that you think of, please feel free to email David or Wayne or Seth. Like they said, it's the only beginning of our conversation, and we'd love to hear from you. So.
Yes, and if you have the opportunity to, bully, coerce, manipulate a neighbor who goes to the church who isn't signed up for a webinar, do it. Of course, don't bully. But encourage others if they have not signed up to please do it. All right, thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Ashley. This is a great place. I'm grateful to be at St. Mary's Church. The Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Let us pray. Keep watch, dear Lord, with those who work or watch or weep this night, and give your angels charge over those who sleep. Tend the sick, Lord Christ. Give rest to the weary. Bless the dying. Soothe the suffering. Pity the afflicted. Shield the joyous, and all for your love's sake. Amen. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God. Have a great evening.
God bless you all.